We're soon going to have an option of a multi-60 with 6 ports, which brings 6 different line sets outside. So you could have 6 different line sets running on the outside of the building if you don't have a place to put them in the wall. So there's a lot of different factors that can lead into which one you want to go with. And I don't think the question should be if you're comfortable with the product or not. If you haven't installed a MultiPRO, we're happy to get you up to speed. It's just as simple as mini splits with their communication.
Welcome back. I'm James McIntyre, Senior Director of Commercial Sales. Let's go down the line and have everyone introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Daniel Hamrick. Glad to be here.
Greg Brunts, National Commercial Technical Support Specialist.
Jesus Fraga. I'm the technical product manager here at Gree.
All right, and as we always say, before we get started, if you're on a job right now and have a question, call the tech line. That's 888-865-3029. Is that correct?
No.
No. What's the last four?
888-850-7928.
Yeah. 888-850-7928. All right. Submit questions anytime using the question mark icon to the right of the screen. We'll be checking for your questions throughout the show. Please ask questions. It makes the show better. All right, so let's start talking comfort. All right, it's been a few weeks and a few flights since AHR, so we've put together a little reel to refresh our memories of the AHR experience. Roll the clip. I certainly enjoyed it. As far as all the products that were introduced, I mean, what would you say excited you guys the most? How about you, Daniel?
Well, there was a lot of stuff there. I think it's important to note that it is a global representation of Gree. So some things we don't bring into the US and some things we do. I think one of the most exciting items that we learned about in the product launch was the water heater.
The heat pump water heater?
Yeah, the heat pump water heater. That was pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing if that's something we can offer in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I was really interested in that too. The fact that you can duct that as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So you're no longer worried about that, the closet getting cold or, something like that. I mean,
or if you want it to cool off the garage, great.
Yeah.
Just don't
free heat or free cooling, right?
Yeah. Free cooling.
Not free, but
So I don't know about you guys, but my voice has just, just came back. There was a lot of talking, talking with our customers, our future customers from what I've experienced about the new products. I mean, just to see the excitement at the show is, really puts that energy into you, and it really, helps you see where we're at as a brand, Gree brand and its presence here in the United States. And, I've heard countless times where people say, man, where do you sell this equipment at? What distributor? So things like that, which is it's really exciting to be where we're at right now. So me personally, my favorite product that I saw at the show was the extension of the FLEXX family. So now we're going to introduce a top discharge condenser unit along with a dual voltage air handler, which man, that just it's going to set us apart as far as what products that we're able to offer and the applications that those units can be installed in. So it's an exciting time for sure.
Right.
Certainly.
What
My
about you,
best
Greg?
part of it was I got to stay home and support the products that we do sell while you guys ran around Vegas and got wore out.
Yeah, I don't worry. I spent a whole lot of time making promises that you'll have to keep.
I'm sure you did.
No, I mean, to Jesus's point, I mean, I personally came out with quite a few interested folks, wanting to sign up to be a customer, wanting to expand their products across the board, particularly in the commercial, of course. I mean, that's what I do. But yeah, can't forget the 97% efficient gas furnace. I mean, I think I'm pretty excited about that too. I mean, although I'm 100% heat pump house, all MultiPRO, I could definitely see there being applications for it.
Yeah, most certainly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you'll have that case coil for the MultiPRO soon anyway, right?
I eliminated all my ductwork too, so it would take me more work to convert back now than But hey, but that gives you the options, right? Absolutely
Yep.
gives customers the options. I'm very excited about that. I mean, if you've never gone to AHR, I absolutely invite you to go. Just take that trip, call it a vacation. It's kind of hard to justify Chicago being a vacation, no offense, but Vegas is definitely an opportunity. You'll get another shot at it in 4 years, but definitely go. You get to nerd out about it. You get to go see the tools. You get to go see a bunch of stuff that that you can add to your shopping list for Christmas. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. To take a look at. We Daniel and I got a chance to see some tools. There's no doubt about that.
That was one of the most interesting and fun parts. We don't get to use our tools every day anymore since we're doing a different role in the heat and air industry. So it's always fun to see what guys are using and what's working well.
Yeah, we're just professional keyboard warriors at this point.
Man, I walked around that show last year and looked at all those tools and was real glad I'm not in the field anymore. Because I'd have spent way too much money on tools.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I like the fact that HVAC's gotten the attention that it's gotten, and that there are tools that make the job so much easier than it used to be. I'm still an analog gauge kind of guy, but I can definitely see how like so many Bluetooth options, so many, like Greg said, plenty of opportunity to fill out that pretty high dollar backpack. So, well, anything else from the AHR show? I mean, are we any other technologies? I mean, I know that we were nominated for an award for compressor technology. We've got a compressor that can run up to 200 hertz now, which is
Incredible.
Insanely fast. What was that?
That's incredible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we saw low ambient, both cooling and heating options and all that are going to be coming to us pretty soon. A lot of things to get excited about, no doubt. I believe you had something to talk about there, Daniel.
Yeah, actually, so it's back to the AHR show, right? HVAC influencer Alex Ivey stopped by the booth. And as we were getting ready, looking for things to do. So let's run that clip.
We are at AHR Day 2 at the Gree booth talking with Daniel about the FLEXX. Come in here and get updated on what's going on current.
Yeah, so here we have a couple of new items that we're going to be bringing in. For one, gas furnace, right? We've never offered a gas furnace before. We're all about heat pumps, but in some locations you might want to have a dual fuel application. So here we have our gas furnace. It's a 97% efficient furnace that we're coming out with. And then we have the A coil, which matches with anybody's gas furnace if you want to do that application or if you want to use the Gree furnace.
I've been really excited when I came in here. I seen this box sitting on the side of this A coil. And I was like, man, I got to know a little bit more about it. What is this? Can you tell me something?
Yeah, so what this is this is a control box. It's already set up and ready to go to be used with anybody's furnace. So this contains your A2L sensor, your sensors for the coil, your board. It's a 24 volt powered. So you just wire in 24 volts to it. It powers it. And then obviously that thing might be in the way if you got some pipes coming out. You know, maybe you got an 80% furnace. It's coming out the center. This is movable. So you can move it to the side. And then you got room for your flue. And then it's ready to roll. So.
Well, one thing for sure, Gree's pretty tried and true. I got one in my house, and it's worked out really nice. I really like what they got going on here with the sensors and the boards, and it's all in a separate compartment. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times I've seen other people and manufacturers put it inside, and it just makes it a little bit more challenging. Yeah. So I really like what's going on here at Gree.
Yeah. We worked very close with them to make sure that that box was movable.
This is the FLEXX condenser. Could you tell us a little bit about what makes this one so special, Daniel?
So one of the biggest things about this is you don't have to use proprietary communication. It's a 24 volt system out of the box, ready to roll. So it's down to -32, cold climate heating. As you can see, we've got a double stack fan. So it's a small footprint, excellent product, updated controls as far as the inverter board goes. We've got a liquid cooled inverter board. Not only that, it's a really cool display. You can actually see everything. So
it's really nice how y'all got it set up with the image on here right now. But I can tell you, I have actually seen a couple of these out in the field, and they've been really, really nice. They're very, very quiet. I know you don't have a fan on this one, but I assure you out in the field, they are amazing. We're looking at the Unitary Eco Series FLEXX. That is a top discharge. It is new to the market, and we're going to let Daniel tell us about it.
So this is interesting to me because, you know, we talked about the side discharge FLEXX, right? Well, in a lot of instances, especially where I live in South Carolina and down in the South where you live, Mississippi, we're not really that interested in side discharge or ultra heat necessarily. It only snows once in a blue moon where I live. And so this option here, the top discharge, a new FLEXX, is what I'm looking at for that price point, you know, that entry level. We're going down to -5, but we're still getting a really good efficiency at 17 SEER 2. Looking forward to seeing this in the coming year.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. The 17 SEER 2, I like the higher efficiency, and I like the top discharge. I know side discharge, a lot of people prefer it, but at a cheaper price point, and it feels more comfortable dealing with one that you've already been, you've seen somebody top discharge. You know, I like the fact that it's a sweat versus the other that is a flare. That's a big difference to some of the guys in the field. I know some of them prefer sweat versus flare or vice versa. New from Gree, really excited to be here. Another thing, while we're at AHR, we've been talking about Talking Comfort Live on YouTube, where I'll be a guest later on in the year, and you can come check it out, talking about Gree.
All right. Well, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that clip. Like to hear everyone's thoughts about what they thought about the, the top discharge that we're coming out with. And I know we talked about it a little before, but the 97% furnace. And also look forward in the future to hopefully having Alex on the show. So that'd be really cool. So what do you think about that top discharge, Jesus?
Yeah, you know, I really like it. Got a lot of inquiries about it and, you know, what the connection strategy was there. So it's going to be you can set it up two ways. So from the condenser to the air handler, it's going to be a 2-wire H1 and H2, just like the FLEXX, but you're also going to add a red and a common out to the outdoor condenser. At the air handler, you can set it up two ways. So you can either do the conventional 24 volt, which obviously limits the amount of efficiency that the system is actually able to achieve, or you could just do the RS-45 communication. So there are some similarities there on that product. One of the main things that, you know, I really want to point out is that dual voltage on that air handler. That's going to be huge for, you know, pretty much replacing gas furnaces if the contractor ever want to do that, or the customer ever, you know, were to ask. You know, we do have an option for you now to where you don't have to run a separate, you know, dedicated circuit out to the air handler to go ahead and power that up. So I think that's going to be huge. I really like the gas furnace. I told all the customers, hey, now you can present to your customers, you can have Gree branded everything, outdoor unit, indoor units, even the combustion furnace. So, as Daniel stated, it's 97% efficient. It's going to come in 60,000 and 80,000 BTU increments. So, just depending on what your application is, would deem which one you would choose. So, pretty exciting stuff, man. I really like it. I really, really like it.
Do you know anything about the setup as far as the dual voltage air handler? Do you know if you just wire it in and it just auto detects, or is it something that you have to?
Yeah, so from what I understand, it is going to be auto detection. So whatever voltage that you supply to the air handler is going to pick it up and run as deemed.
How about that? How about that? That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's going to be a really good addition because that's something that we get questions on a lot. Hey, is it 120 or is it 230? I only have 120. What do I do? And all those different types of questions that we
Right.
get.
And
Yeah.
well, another thing, it does eliminate the need for that. I mean, in areas where you're not allowed to, it eliminates the need to have that extra trade come in. I mean, most of
Yeah.
us can run some 12-2 wire and do a breaker, but in some places they won't let you do that, right?
Right. Right.
I mean, I know one, it's not as cool as Texas, but there's one state out there that's pretty big too, and it's really something that you're not allowed to do is run the wire yourself,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's going to it's going to reduce the overall cost of the job, really open us up for more opportunities in those applications.
What do y'all think about that braze option on that side discharge?
Well, I tell you, I'm kind of torn. We got a minute and 45 on this section. I'm kind of torn on. I mean, I like flare because it ensures that we're going to have a clean system.
Right. And then now we're introducing another little aspect that we'll have to run some training around, right?
Yeah, I mean, all we got to do is run nitrogen while we're brazing. You can do that all day, every day. As long as you're running nitrogen, it's no big deal. You know,
What do you
I don't
think,
know.
Greg?
I was kind of excited with the FLEXX R32 with the air handler and them going all flare because, there's a lot of jobs where, you're doing a new line set and you can run the whole line set, make your bend with a good quality bender and never have to get a torch off the truck. And to me, that would save more time than anything because if you're not having to pull a nitrogen tank off the truck, you're not having to pull torches off the truck. And we all know how that goes, right? The minute you put your nitrogen tank and torch away, and then you do the pressure check, finally you got a leak. Now you got to go back out to the truck, get the nitrogen tank back out, get your torches back out, go fix your where you didn't quite get that soldered all the way. So, or brazed all the way. I'm just a firm believer in the flares, and I just think, as long as we're doing flares properly and torquing them, to me that's the way to go. But not that I'm afraid of being able to braze too. I think we should be the guys out there should be versatile to do either one. But if I had to vote on which one I like better, it'd be flares every day. So
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're out of time, so let's move on next to the next segment here. Well, quick question check and reminder. So
yeah.
Let me check the questions here.
Got any questions? Look at that. Frozen clock again. I love that.
Hey, we're having fun with this. I like these new features and the countdown. It's really awesome.
I mean, where else could we get a frozen clock besides our partners at Feature Group?
So we do have a couple of questions regarding what we were talking about. One is, will the dual voltage air handler have a heater as an option? I assume he's talking about a heat kit. So do you have some information on that, Jesus?
I don't necessarily have the exact model number or the increments, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 5, 10, 15, and 20 kilowatt heater. As far as which one we're going to use, that's still I don't have that piece of information yet. But yeah, it will be compatible with the heat kit that way for those lower ambient regions up in the north.
Yeah, but if we're only putting 120 volts to it, our wattage is going way down.
Or our amp goes way up.
Amp draw's going way up.
It's a resistive load, so it's not going to go way up in amps. So
Okay, Greg.
Okay.
we're just going to have lower wattage, right?
I got you. I got
It's
you.
not a big deal. So I mean, if you put it in 20 kW, you got 120 volts, so you're going to get 10K out of it. So it's still, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's not that big a deal.
You're just
It'll
gonna
still
get
work.
less. You're just gonna get less KW.
If they're offering it, for sure,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a little premature to know, we don't have all the specs yet.
Right.
But,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know those
realistically, I
exact
don't-
details as far as which heat kits, if there is going to be heat kits for the 110 volt units, but for sure the 230, obviously there's going to be the standard 5 through 20 kilowatt heat kits.
And
We
it
still
may
don't have the information on, whether the 110 volt are actually going to have heat kits.
Like I said, I think it's
Yeah.
they still will be able to make it compatible with 120 volts. It's just going to be a lower wattage. So
Well,
we
the
still
good
got to
news,
wait for those exact specifications.
I mean,
Well, the
although it
way-
comes in handy, I'm sorry. I was say, although it comes in handy nationwide, one of the key markets I would say is California, where we've been talking about why even have natural gas furnaces and all that in the first place.
right.
So maybe we're then looking at if you're absolutely insistent that your 38-degree winter, you need this heating capacity, then maybe use an ultra heat at that point or something.
Yeah, true.
So I mean, it's either way. I think it.
Well, I was
Starts
just kind of
conversation.
thinking about how the current FLEXX works in that you install the heat kit, you provide power to the heat kit, and then the heat kit provides power to the electric box of the unit itself.
Right.
And then that will automatically detect what voltage is attached. So it may just be a standard heat kit, 230 volt. You install it, run power to the breakers, and then it powers the unit the rest of the way. So it wouldn't necessarily be like a 120 volt heat kit, it's still going to be a 230 volt heat kit. So that's just a guess. I don't know. We'll find out more in the future, and we'll probably talk about it here on Talking Comfort Live. So don't forget to join us next time. Moving on to the next question from Corey. He says straight pipe or swedged on the FLEXX connection. Believe we determined that was already swedged on those, Jesus, at this current time.
Yeah, even that's on the top discharge as well. So
Yeah.
just slip your pipe right in and braze it up.
Yep.
Even though Greg says that there's possible leaks after you do a leak search, but maybe that was just him. I don't know.
Just don't put your torches up.
When you got guys like Jesus brazing for you,
Hey, the only way to keep from having a leak after you get done brazing is to leave your torches out.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then if you leave them out, there's no leaks. If you put them in the truck, you're going to have a leak.
Every
You
time.
are 100% correct.
I was thinking a buddy of mine saying that the HVAC gods are watching, man.
Well, I really wasn't talking about Jesus' brazing techniques. I'm talking about the fact that he's been the one to put the torches away.
You're right. Sometimes I get ahead of myself and it's like, bites you in the booty, later on.
Yeah. Why is Jesus the helper in this hypothetical situation?
Because I'm older.
That's been my whole career, man.
All right. Well, that's all the questions for now. So let's jump into the next segment. All right. So all match, single and multi-zone. It was really busy in the Gree booth this year, but I did get an opportunity to record a quick walkthrough talking about the all match, single zone, multi-zone systems that we featured at AHRI. So let's roll it.
Hey everybody, Daniel with Gree here at the AHR booth in Las Vegas, talking about the all match products, the multi-zone, along with the single zone, and the indoor units that can match with all of those. So with that, let's get into it. We have the multi outdoor unit, heat pump down to -22 whole climate heating, and we have this 18K through 55K available 2 through 6 port, so you can put up to 6 indoor units attached to it. We've got a couple of the indoor units going to be available. We have the mini floor console here, excellent for replacing a radiator, just somewhere where you don't have the option to put a high wall. And one of the new products that we have available up here, which is going to be the air handler, available in 12, 18, and 24K. It's going to match with the multi-zone and as a single zone application if you use the Vireo outdoor unit. So this is going to come in 12K, 18K, and 24K. So this will be the ducted air handler option to go with the multi-zone systems. So here we have the slim duct, which goes with the multi-zone, and we call this part of the all match line. It matches with the Vireo single zone and also with the multi-zone line. And then over here, we have a one-way cassette that goes with both. It can be used with the Vireo single zone or with the multi-zone as an indoor unit. And we also have a 360 cassette as well. We've got 4 different options on the high wall to match with the multi and single zones. We'll go around and take a look at those. And here we have a few examples of the high wall units that are also offered to match with the multi-zone, the single zone, and that gives you a full lineup of all match products. Very versatile product lineup that we have on the mini split side for Gree here in the US. If you'd like to know more about it, feel free to check out greecomfort.com, and don't forget, with Gree, we're by your side.
All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that clip. I enjoyed making it. So what do you guys think? You know, we went over the air handler that's new. I've got a lot of customers really excited about that air handler. It's going to match with the multi-systems.
What do you think the main advantage would be to utilizing the air handlers on a multi-zone system versus using an air handlers on a MultiPRO system?
That's a really good question. You know, the advantage to using the multi is that I'm in the residential sector of the business.
I mean, you say it like you can't sell MultiPRO.
Well,
No. So it just depends on preference, honestly. In the application, you know, one might be better than the other. You know, MultiPRO is going to have a clean look with pipes, you know, one pipe going into the place. The multi systems, we're soon going to have an option of a multi 60 with 6 ports, which brings 6 different line sets outside. So you could have 6 different line sets running on the outside of the building if you don't have a place to put them in the wall. So there's a lot of different factors that can lead into which one you want to go with. And I don't think the question should be if you're comfortable with the product or not. If you haven't installed a MultiPRO, we're happy to get you up to speed. It's just as simple as mini splits with their communication. So,
well, and maybe retrofit too. You already have
true.
a multi-zone there. You're going back with another multi-zone because it's already been prepped and the wiring's pulled for a multi-zone type of unit, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can definitely see the application for both.
Right. I'm interested to know how heat kits might work on the multi-zone air handlers.
And that's a really good question.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we probably can't tap off the 1, 2, and 3 to power our heat kits.
that's correct.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No, I think you're going to need a separate power source for the heat kit.
I think you're going to need that. Yeah.
You'll need a separate power source.
Well, you know, hey, James, you laugh, but I had somebody that thought they could power an air handler with a heat kit off of the GMV unit.
That's true. So just take note, everybody. If you're uncomfortable with MultiPRO, somebody wasn't.
What y'all think about the one-way cassette? I think that's.
I love the one-way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually fit between the rafters.
Yeah, I like the fact too, like when it's not in use, you know, you've got a return set of louvers as well as the louver for the, you know, supply.
I
so like it just absolutely closes up and goes pretty well flush.
Yeah. Yep.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, one-ways have gotten remarkably popular. I mean, one of the limitations has been whether or not it fits between studs, we're still going to get that question because, you still need access and stuff like that, but you can
Yeah, true.
access all
People
the,
love to put them in a finished ceiling and then forget to put an access, and then it's a mess when you go have to work on something.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like putting flare, I mean, I would argue and say putting braze connections inside the wall is no different, really. I mean, if you put up the torches and it causes a leak, I promise you, if you don't provide access to something, it's going to be a leak also.
Right.
You
Yep.
know, the stuff
Either
that
that or-
breaks is not stuff that's easy to get to.
Either
You
that
know?
or the siding guy's going to put a nail in it anyway.
Yeah. What are we going to do to prevent that? That's the next question that we're going to get. Well, I think that retrofit, applications, going back to the air handler with multi-zones and all that. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that you're having your electronic suspension valve be in the outdoor unit, so your line sets are going to be significantly smaller than whatever you might have there. So, trying to utilize that in a retrofit with existing line sets is you're not going to have come on, help me out here. You're not going to have necessarily the option to use existing line sets if you're talking about using a like a one-to-one
Right.
very like
Going
all match
home
right?
run. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like the different applications. I automatically think of like maybe like an existing building that is already, finished out, sheetrock, everything covered up. You can run all the line sets, off the side wall, which personally I think that like the line set covers, I think those look pretty cool whenever they're, installed properly. They add a cool little aesthetic, detail to the outdoor of the building.
That's
So,
only
That's it.
for heat and air guys, Jesus.
ah,
Like, normally whoever's doing the interior decoration isn't going to enjoy that, but we do.
And I mean, the other thing is the operation range. You had pointed out, Daniel, -22. I mean, we're
Yeah,
getting to a
true.
point to where Gree is starting to just say, you know what, we're just going to do enthalpy adding compressors to each product that we sell. That way, you don't have to worry about those really low ambient conditions, and like in the north, obviously.
Yeah, I think too. Utilizing a mini split style condenser opens us up more in like multifamily. If you want a well-built indoor air handler rather than a partially
True.
assembled.
And some smaller sizes as well. So, the 12K air handler versus some of the other, like FLEXX, for instance. You
Right.
can still do that single zone Vireo
have
and
a-
12K indoor air handler. So there's
Yeah.
a lot
I
of
mean, it's
different-
interesting. Every apartment in America is exactly a ton, requires exactly a ton and a half, right?
no matter the size.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, 150
And let's
square
not
foot,
forget about the
500 square
space.
foot, it's all a ton and a half.
Right. Let's not forget about the space that they need, to supply or to have that air handler in. So like, I mean, you get rid of having the need for a closet, where air handler sits. You could just do, all ductless. So that that's for that, side of the industry. Multifamilies,
there's
obviously. Big
There's a
one.
lot. I mean, I can tell you, I'd rather work on like a wall mount than try to put my ladder inside a tub.
Right.
No offense to those that, support that
That
product.
prefer the tub.
Yeah. I
laughing
like to
because
put it
I've
in a
been
place where
there,
you can
done
access it. Say what?
I'm laughing because I've been there, done that. It ain't fun.
No,
That's
yeah,
not-
fun at all.
That's
It's
not.
awkward.
Yeah, it's. I've seen them drain into the tub, which is that's an interesting application. I don't know about you, but I like showering and then get evaporator water on me while I'm showering.
I've
or
seen
whatever.
condensate lines in the toilet tanks.
Hey,
Wow,
you're saying-
okay.
That's an interesting one. That's
Free
Yeah,
flushes.
maybe we'll do a
I've seen that one
segment
before.
next time, like the weirdest, craziest things that we've done.
all right.
I didn't say I
so-
did it. I said I seen it.
Resourceful, man.
All right. Let's jump into questions.
What you got?
See what we got. So we did have a couple come in. Thank
Oh,
you
we're
everybody
there
for
we go.
participating. What's that, James?
I was gonna say we're pausing for the questions. is what
Oh
we're doing,
yeah, we're pausing. So
I need
we
to put
ran
the
out of
time back on
and
the
we're
clock.
pausing. All right, we're frozen in time. All right. So Got a question here. Do all FLEXX and mini split AC and heat pumps have the thermo relief safety valve? No, not all of them have them.
Depends on the size of the unit.
It
Yeah,
depends on the size of the unit.
Depends
Yeah.
on the charge.
It's
Yeah.
the charge. Yeah. It's
Well, yeah.
In particular, yeah.
But obviously, the larger units are going to have more charge, so therefore, don't want them to have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we point out that we're not the only, Gree's not the only manufacturer that has to utilize those.
No, it's actually a regulatory requirement.
Right.
So if you don't like that, write your congressman. Let me know if you have any luck. But
And I've had problems with those with even other brands where they leak. But it's not overwhelming, especially though. Even I would agree here. Since I've been supporting Gree equipment, the amount that we get leaking versus the amount of equipment we sold is very minimal.
yeah, that and well, anytime there's a safety trip or something like that or blown or whatever, always make sure that there's not a condition that exists that caused it to blow in the first place.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
True.
I mean,
Did you do that when you fixed yours, James?
I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny at this time. Speaking of congressman, anyway.
All
No,
right.
but seriously, I still remember being on the field and having a few of those pop on me. You show up and you check it out. It's like, man, this thing's flat. And then you obviously, what do you do first? You pressurize it with nitrogen, right? And then obviously you find out that it's the blow off valve. And then you start to think, all right, well, it made this thing trip. And sure enough, 9 times out of 10, you go in the attic, and what do you see? Atrocious installation. And the main thing is obviously ductwork. Most of the times, I always saw
Airflow.
very small return ductwork.
Just for the record, we want to call it what it actually is. It's called a fusible plug.
Yeah.
So when people are looking for parts and looking for a part, it's a fusible plug. And if we had any distribution on the watching this broadcast, if you go to our parts lookup tool, all you got to do is type in fusible plug, and it'll pull up the part number for you.
Part number.
Yep.
If you need one.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Greg.
Go ahead and get you one. Throw it under the counter. You'll have one there.
Just put it in the drawer under the counter there and save it in case you need one.
Yeah. $200 service fee. Oh.
Convenience fee.
Convenience fee. That's right. Okay.
All right. We got a few more questions here. One is, are there any options coming up for a single wall head 3-ton negative 22 degree besides the MultiPRO units? I think the answer is no. You're going to have to go with MultiPRO on that. Am I correct, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
That is correct.
All right. And then in what BTU sizes the slim duct units are going to be? I'm pretty sure those are 9, 12, 18, 24, correct?
That's on the mini split side, right?
Yep.
Now on the mini split side, it goes higher than that. It goes up to 36, I believe.
Yeah, there is a 36, 30 and 36 available.
Yep. I know that because I used our quote builder today.
we learn things every day on our website, just so everyone knows.
There's just a lot of stuff. I mean, it's
there
not
is a lot.
I mean, it's not like we're not geniuses. There's just a lot of stuff to keep up with.
All right. And
so
then,
Daniel,
yeah,
I think we should go back and I don't know if we fully answered the fusible plug question. So, I would say to you is, anything over 3 tons is going to have that fusible plug. You have to see exactly what the code calls for. 'Cause I can't remember at this second what the kilograms is to where that fusible plug has to be added by any international manufacturer. So just be wary of how much kilograms is actually in that unit, and we would have to actually get that piece of information for you.
You're talking about the refrigerant charge. So
yes, yeah.
X amount of refrigerant charge, it has to have the plug for safety reasons, etc.
Right, yeah.
Okay. All right. And we do have one last question. Is the 5-ton multi R32 available yet? To my knowledge, It is not ready to order yet, Jesus. That multi 60K.
Oh no, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I'd like to remind you, we do have a 60K MultiPRO. All right. So just if you're looking for 5 tons and looking for multi-zones, that's what we got currently in stock right now. All right. We have a tech tip that shows how to quickly determine whether an air handler issue is a control board or blower motor problem. All right, let's run that clip.
Hey everyone, Greg with Gree here with JD.
How you doing?
We're going to talk about determining whether you got a motor problem or a board problem with the R32 FLEXX air handler, the R32 FLEXX Eco air handler, or even the 410A Eco FLEXX air handler or the 410A Ultra air handler, because the motor that's used in those is the same in all three. As far as troubleshooting goes, I want to talk about the motor wiring diagram, and we got a shot here that shows you the label on the motor itself. And you're going to see on that motor label, there's a black wire. That's your common. You got a white wire, that's your DC power. And then you have a yellow wire, which is your PWM, which is your pulse with modulation signal. That's what's telling the motor to come on. Then the FG wire, the blue wire, is your feedback voltage. You're not going to get a voltage on feedback unless the motor's actually running. So we really don't care about that as far as troubleshooting whether the motor's running or not. I also wanted to point out here on the wiring harness, your black wire, that is the same as the wiring diagram on the motor. White is your DC power, yellow is your PWM, and blue is your feedback. So when I unplug this, these are the pins I care about. This is where my black is going to be, this is where my white is, and this is where my yellow is. So I'm going to go black to white first. That should give me my 15 volts DC. And then black to yellow is going to show me that PWM signal. If we get that, then we know the board is good, and with the motor plugged up, if the motor won't come on, then we know the motor's bad as long as the board is functioning. The unit that we have, the motor works, so the only way we can demonstrate this for you is to unplug the motor so that the motor can't run. So we're going to actually do it on the pins, and I actually encourage you to do it with the motor unplugged to test just the board. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing powered up, and JD's going to get the meter leads in there. We're going to get a voltage test going on here. So we'll give it a brand new call. Give me 1 second, JD. Let me give it a fan call. All right, you got a high-speed fan call. So black to white pins. We should have 15 volts DC. Now go black to the next pin and move your red to where it'd be yellow. So now you got 8 volts. So the board is giving us our signal. Now it's dropping back down. It may try again and bounce the voltage back up. Give it just a second. Is the green light blinking on that board?
Not yet. It just started blinking.
Okay. Once you see that green light start blinking, it's no longer going to give you that PWM signal. So now you've got to power cycle it to get it to it, or wait a little bit. It'll actually try again. Go ahead and put the meter lead back up there. It hasn't locked yet. So we should start seeing it again here in a minute. And you can kind of see whether that board's still blinking.
It's trying again. The
Okay,
green
it's
light
trying
went
again.
away.
So let's go up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's holding steady there. Probably going to start blinking that green light again.
I'll tell you when. Now.
Okay. So once that green light starts blinking, it's going to stop giving you that PWM signal. And we figured out it was 3 tries.
Yep.
3 tries, then it locks out. If it locks out on you guys, especially if you got H1 and H2 hooked up between the indoor and outdoor unit, you got to power off both the outdoor and the indoor. And you got to power it off for good, it was a couple minutes.
Yes.
So I give it like 5 minutes, then power it back up, and you should be able to start all over again if you didn't get a chance to get all your measurements properly. But as you can see from the voltage readings we did, the board is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. We got our steady 15 volts, which would be on the plug would be the black and white wire on those pins. And then we went black to where the yellow wire would be on that pin. And we're getting that steady increase of DC voltage. So it's wanting to start the motor, and it's going to stop because we're not getting any feedback voltage on that blue wire. That's what the thing is looking for. It sends the PWM signal out. It looks for that feedback voltage back so it knows the motor actually came on and is running. So if the motor's unplugged or the motor's bad, you're never going to get that feedback voltage. And don't forget that you got to make sure if you're using RS-485 that you absolutely got a fresh fan call. Or if you're using 24 volt, you need to verify you're getting 24 volts to GNC. So another way you might want to test this is if you look at the service manual and you set the dip switches, even if you're using RS-485, you can disconnect your H1 and H2 for a minute. You can change that dip switch for 24 volt.
SA1 to the on position, SA1 number 1 to the on position.
Jump R to G. Now you know you got your 24 volts, and the test would be exactly the same.
Yep.
So the only way you can really test this is the board doing what it's supposed to be doing to send out the signal to tell the motor to run? And maybe it is. The only thing that might be failed is the module is not sending the feedback. Either way, it's still a bad motor, right?
Right.
So, but if you're getting the pulse out off the board and the steady 15 volts, then it's not the board. You got a motor problem.
Yep.
Okay? Well, with that, agree?
We're by your side.
We're by your side.
Wow, that was a great video. Thanks, Greg.
And JD.
Yeah, I had fun
JD.
doing that video because that was pretty cool. Because it gives clear-cut directions to. Because I know the tech guys are getting a bunch of calls on that. Where how do you troubleshoot this motor? How do you know it's the motor? How do you know it's the board? And I know for a fact that some of those they're just changing board and motor because they don't know what to do.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
that test works for any ECM motor, right?
Well, it's going to work on any motor like that. If you look at that wiring diagram on that motor, and that's why I pointed all that out at the beginning of the video. If you've got that, common, and then the white wire wasn't marked, but that's your DC voltage, and then you have that one marked PWM and you have the one marked FG, it's the same type of motor. You're going to have that 15 volts solid, and you're going to have a pulse signal to tell it to run, and a feedback voltage to prove it is running. So yes, you're right. Any motor that's using that same connection, it's the same test.
So then it would be, every motor that's a pulse with
Every Gree motor. I can't speak for
modulation
another
motor.
manufacturer.
Tongue tied a
Okay.
little bit there. Right. Because we all know, right? Is that time over?
No, that's
Oh.
my noodles
Because
are done.
just regular ECMs, they're going to either run or not. It's not going to tell it to shut down or anything, like on just regular unitary equipment. It's just going to, continuously either send the signal or not. And there's no way for the motor to relay that back to the board to shut down, the system.
Can't really say that because the unitary product uses the same type of pulse with modulation and feedback voltage. They may do it differently. Each manufacturer does it different. Now, this one's putting out a clear DC voltage. You've seen it in the video, all the way up to 8 volts DC. I've seen other manufacturers that are literally only hitting it maybe like half a volt to a volt. It's really low. So, like I said, that's why I specified it. On Gree motors, if you have that same wiring diagram on the motor, then, showing that black and white wire, which is your constant DC voltage, and then the yellow wire, which is your PWM, and your blue wire, which is your feedback. If it has that same type of wiring diagram on that motor, and it's a Gree unit, that test is exactly the same.
Right. Well, I was referencing just regular unitary stuff like single speed, not modulation.
What I'm saying is, so unitary product at other manufacturers use pulse with modulation too, but they may not be doing it that same way. I can't say what the voltages would be.
Yeah, it all depends on those manufacturers and who they bought it from.
Right.
Well, really what it all depends on is the programming in the motor, in
Yeah.
the module, and what the manufacturer board is sending to the program in that module on the back of the motor. That's what really. So you got to know that manufacturer specifications of what voltage signals it's sending to that ECM motor on that, and what that motor's been programmed to do.
I got you. And if they don't have that information available, you should
I'll
switch
agree.
to Gree, because at least if it goes down, we got a video for it.
No, but see, I wanted to point out on that video, that literally shows you, as technicians out there in the field, we really got to slow down and really make sure that, the voltages are present where they need to be. Because as Greg and JD clearly pointed out, it goes away for a little bit. So just because you test the pins doesn't necessarily mean, and you don't see the voltage, doesn't necessarily mean that it hasn't sent the voltage. It may have sent it, but, it's determined that there's no current coming back on that other wire, thus trying over again and again until it locks out. So just
Well, and then, like I
patience.
said in that video, if you got the H1 H2 hooked up between the two units, even if it's set up for 24-volt control, not using Gree's controller, once that thing locks, it throws the same air code on the outdoor unit. That's why I said in the video, you got to power both of them down.
Gotcha.
Leave it sit for a little bit and then power it back up. Now, if you don't have H1 and H2 hooked up between the indoor and outdoor, then it doesn't matter. You can cycle just power to the air handle. So it all
Sounds like
depends
we
on
need
the
to watch
setup.
that video again.
Because we tried that in the lab. We powered off just the air handler. It didn't reset. It didn't reset because we didn't turn the power off to the condenser.
That's good to know.
So
Gotcha.
All right.
yeah, I had fun with that. Other than the fact that that warehouse was freezing. That's why I had that flannel on.
Look like y'all are all bundled up working outside.
But to say, Greg, all you needed was an axe, man.
I think my hands are still trying to warm up.
Well, let's pause for a moment and check our questions.
All right. So we do have a few questions in here. Here's a comment. He says, don't ask me how many times I've seen 12-inch supply and 12-inch return on a FLEXX.
Well, I never had that problem out of brand X.
Yeah, that's right. And then he's got a question. He says, if the fusible plug ruptures, does that mean the high pressure switch didn't do its job? I don't think so.
No, it's
No,
based
not
on the
necessarily.
temperature.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it can indicate that basically the fusible plug did prematurely fail, but it is based, it is a bimetal mixture that, I mean, it's based on temperature.
I forget the temperature. We have it in specs in our trainings and stuff that we've done. I don't know.
Yeah,
off the top
it's
of my
listed
head,
on the
but-
top of that fusible plug. I think it's in Celsius though.
Yeah, pretty, I mean, not going to say this is a rule of thumb, but it's, if you've lost the fusible plug, yeah, chances are it's just a prematurely failed, fusible plug. I mean, it is a worst case scenario pressure relief device.
Yeah. All right. And then on a separate note, let's see. Are there plans to bring over the dip switch sizing of the indoor units like MultiPRO in the same size line set going to be available in the mini split line? No. I think he's referring to how you reduce the SKUs of the MultiPRO indoor units by making it field selectable, which was incredible idea. I think that's, really great to be able to reduce SKUs, especially for distributors and warehousing. But no, I don't think there's any plans at this time to do anything like that with the mini split line.
Who came up with that idea?
Oh, man.
I don't think he's here today, though.
On the MultiPRO outdoor units, we have discussed that with the factory some, to see if we could dual rate, just like we do with the FLEXX outdoor units.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything that, can help, kind of consolidate equipment, and it helps us keep it in stock. It helps our distributor keep it in stock.
Yeah.
Even contractors can keep it in stock, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, you
Yeah.
didn't hear about that, I guess, Daniel. James and I, we had that patented the MultiPRO only.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Well, okay. I mean, one
Smart.
of the things that does make it a little bit differently is that, you know, we're not utilizing the jumper caps to determine the capacity. You know, we're using dip switches instead. So, you know, that is one limitation that we might find on like mini splits, for example.
Right, right.
But I mean, I think it's very real. Yeah, I think it's a very real possibility, you know. I mean, if that sounds like a pretty good option, then that's the way we'll go.
Yeah, in reality, it is something that, you know, we did it with MultiPRO to start with. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be looked into to try to start doing some of that on the mini split line too.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
Right.
All right, that's all the questions for now.
All right, let's move on to commercial. All right, we had our Robert Arias, our own Robert Arias, give us a brief overview of Gree's commercial VRF systems and advanced controller options featured at AHR. Run that clip.
Hello, I'm Robert Arias coming to you live from the AHR Expo in Las Vegas, day 2. We're here to showcase some of our commercial products. We're going to start off with our GMV residential series, Ultra Series 3, 4, and 5. This is the new R32 version. This particular unit gives you up to 10 indoor units that you can install with it. And we'll walk over here real quick. Coming to our next one, which is our Gree Commercial VRF. This unit right here has the ability to do both heat pump and heat recovery. You can change that through the dip switches inside on the control board. We are learning now that this is the new R32 series, which gives us capacities up to 42 tons. To complement our series, we're looking at our controllers here. So we got several different control options. We got the mini bus gateway. We have a 24 volt converter. So if you wanted to utilize a third-party thermostat, such as your Nest, your ecobee, your Honeywell, you would include one of these on your indoor units. We also have our wired programmable controller. This is a Title 24 compliant, which gives you the ability to program in 4 different individual program settings. And to round out our controllers here, this is our new touch screen wired controller. As you can see, you could touch it and adjust. These are both for the residential and the commercial. And if you need more information on any of these products, go to greecommercial.com to get the information. That's Gree Commercial to get the information. And as always, we're Gree, we're by your side.
Man, I appreciate that. That was Robert Arias, our best looking salesman in the commercial department. All right. Anyway,
We're not going to argue that, James.
I know I'm not looking for that. Well, one of the things that gets brought up a lot on VRF is heat pump versus heat recovery. There's a lot of people who think that VRF just means heat recovery. And if you don't know, heat recovery means that you can simultaneously heat and cool out of the same system. To be absolutely honest with you, we see a lot of applications that probably should have been heat pump rather than heat recovery. You know, I don't need simultaneous heating and cooling in one large room, for example, even if I've got multiple indoor units. You know, we don't need that. I mean, it's great. I mean, I sell more equipment. We sell it at a higher price, and, you know, I make, 50 cents more or whatever it is that ends up being, right? But from an application standpoint, we like to keep things as simple as possible. I mean, just because you're doing VRF doesn't mean it has to be complicated. So we go out of our way to try to simplify those applications as much as possible. If you're going to be doing a large room, let's say it's 8 tons, well, you don't need 20 cassettes. You know, you could do 2 indoor units or even 1 indoor unit, for 8 tons. Believe it or not, absolutely, ductwork is just fine. We don't have to go ductless all the time, every time, I mean, duct is a pretty inexpensive way to move a lot of air, so there's those applications. Another thing that for some reason, I mean, we could talk about this for probably an hour, but and unfortunately, I got less than 2 minutes. Another one that comes up pretty often is just how, like, let's say I've got, multiple offices. Typical equipment, I would have like one package unit serving these multiple rooms, and they would all just be, like one set point. Or if I'm using like zone damper systems or something, you've got one mode of operation. So everybody's in heating or everybody's in cooling. I don't know what it is about having VRF heat pump systems, but people think it should do something that nothing else could do, which is simultaneous heating and cooling, you know. Anyway, it's the same thing for high rises and stuff like that too. If you got chiller boiler system, everybody's in heat or everybody's in cool, unless it's a 4-pipe system, like a 4-pipe, chiller boiler type system. The whole building's in heat or the whole building's in cool. Everybody's okay with that apparently. But as soon as you make the move to VRF, all of a sudden they all expect to be able to do heating and cooling simultaneously. That's something to keep in mind. It's absolutely application specific, but we do a lot of work to try to simplify it. Anything you would like to add, Jesus, Greg, Daniel?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I love the mini split and the flex side of it, but anytime I hear commercial, man, it injects me with energy, man. It's exciting because I still remember, getting those phone calls and supporting and tech support, the guys out in the field doing the work. I still remember this one tech. He was climbing up the roof, just typical call, and he paused. He's like, "Oh my goodness!" And what he said was, "Man, this whole roof is littered in Gree units, and all it was commercial VRF." And it's thanks to the viewers and our customers that allow that for us to be able to do that here in the United States, to where Gree could be the prominent brand even in your commercial spaces. So, I guess I just want to commend our customers and the people that are pushing the product. Thank you guys, and it's like I said earlier, it's exciting to be where we're at right now.
I agree. We have, what I've seen in my 18 years this year of VRF experience, I've seen these systems and done a lot of work to try to simplify them as much as possible. I believe actually we have a question related to commercial. If you could take a look, Daniel, real quick and see if you can find that. There's a wired controller question from Craig.
Let's see. Craig says, "I like that new touchscreen thermostat."
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do too. Yeah. Anyway, are there any other questions that have come in since then, or?
No, that's all for now. Looks like we're good.
Okay.
Here's one. Corey, he says, "I heard Versati might be coming to North America. Don't have an let's see. Are we considering bringing in Versati, Jesus, from the product side?"
So as far as I know, stocking wise, no, but obviously you can order it direct from the factory.
Gotcha. And then we had one more. Let's see, from Troy. Appreciate Troy watching. The last wire controller Robert showcased, will it cover a standard 2x4 handy box rough in? And if not, will there be a backer plate?
So I can answer that question if you want me to, James.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
As far as that controller, there's still some modifications that we are wanting to get done. So, it does recess a little bit off the wall. So there are some stuff that we're still trying to modify. We just really wanted to display it, just to let our customers know that, hey, we are, improving our controller options for the GMV line, whether that be, commercial VRF or residential MultiPRO. So,
man, I want one of those cool touch screens for the mini splits. Come on. No.
We got some future discussions going to happen here in the next couple of weeks to try to get that mitigated and get it hopefully rectified as soon as we can to improve that controller. When you have somebody like Gree manufacturing equipment over there, and then you have your U.S. market, the way they do electric boxes and stuff there, and the way we do them here, I believe, is completely different.
It is very different. Just the wall outlets are different when you go
And
over there.
then in trying to get them to understand more that we want more of just a flush mount controller. I mean, most of your applications, the wires just stick out of the wall, and then you hook up the controller and screw it directly to the wall. You don't really necessarily need to have an electrical box. So, James, I believe you said you talked to some of the folks at Gree, the engineers at Gree, when you were at the HR show, and they're starting to get a better understanding of what we're after. So,
Right.
the plan is to they have those ready, but we're a little concerned that if we bring those in, they stick out too far off the wall, and I don't think people are going to care for that as much. So we're going to try to have some conversations as quick as we can to try to rectify that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the way controllers have always worked, I mean, just like the challenges with the, wireless remote, is that, you got symbols and stuff like that that people don't necessarily understand, that kind of thing. And there's another challenge, and it has been, and we'll admit to this, is you go buy the absolute cheapest builder grade unitary system, and then you give them a nice thermostat, and they think they really got something, you
Right.
know. And in some ways, I mean, I think our controllers are better than they ever have been. I mean, trust me, 10 years ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
but the opposite problem. Basically, you've got all the bells and whistles you could ever hope for with the system itself, but the user interface is just not quite what, the consumer would want. They want color, they want, whatever,
Tablet
all kinds of
size.
different things. I mean, what we do know is we have communicated exactly what it is that we're looking for. And it's going to have more options than pretty much any kind of controller that you're going to imagine out there. I mean, every wired controller that we have offers service information at a level that no unitary product I could name has.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want the liquid line temperature of the subcooler, you can get that from that service controller. It's not just humidity or temperature, but that's something we're working hard on, Any
So
other?
James says
Yep.
that more as a salesman's point of view, and I push. I'd rather sell service tools because it's a whole lot easier when I get the guy on the phone helping them diagnose the unit.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, there's definitely some bias there. We want to make our jobs easier too, no question about it. I mean, the information that we've got, like on the MultiPRO or on the GMV product line, the amount of service information that you've got available to you, you're able to get the information off of it without pulling tools out of the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say you did, if you want to justify it with the wife at home, but those
To be
tools-
real though, I've taken those calls where the guy didn't have the service tool, and we pulled that information from that controller to help them figure out what's going on with the system. So
yeah,
you're not wrong. That diagnostic information is in that controller, and it can be extremely beneficial to get in there and figure out what's going on with the piece of equipment.
right. I mean, you can get your DC bus bar voltage from inside. You don't have to crack the outdoor unit open. You don't have to get a meter. You don't have to go and measure it at the unit, at the board itself, that kind of thing. You can verify that it is charging up and all that. There's a lot that you can get from it. But
Yeah. I don't know why we didn't sell more MultiPRO anyway, because I mean, to me, the HVAC technicians out there working on this stuff are also the guys that get people to understand which equipment they should buy and stuff like that. I mean, the minute you tell that technician, you don't have to stand out in the rain and put your gauges on it. You can just hook up the service tool on the indoor unit, or you look at the controller and you can get all your pressure readings and everything else while it's pouring down rain outside, and you're not getting all wet.
Right. Right. Or hot or cold or whatever. Yeah. No, you're
You're
absolutely
just
right.
making it way too easy.
Now, but realistically, James, though, when I was in the field, I never went to a house on a service call in the summertime that was actually cool inside the house. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
I got
true.
I got you. That's a good point. That's a good point. Hey, but it beats the attic.
Beats the roof.
Yeah. I mean, from a relative standpoint, it's cool inside. All right. All right. Any more questions on there, Daniel?
That's all for now. I really appreciate the involvement. Everybody putting in comments and questions. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Now for the next segment. We are responding to YouTube channel comments. All right. We got time to cover one. So we are going to go with H5. And this is coming from a video that says hands-on, Gree FLEXX installation and troubleshooting. Brad Marshall 74 asks, any video on H5? We are getting H5 and compressors loud. Recovered refrigerant wasn't overcharged. Checked compressor and seems good. But Jesus, do you know anything about a video that has H5 in it?
You're looking at the creator, man. There is an updated H5 video that should help techs out. But I do want to mention there is a piece of information on there that talks about cold weather startup, and just by that comment and saying that the compressor is loud, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Care to chime in?
I'd be looking into airflow and piping.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we start this thing up in the middle of the winter and didn't do to the compressor.
Yeah.
Because these heat pumps hold a lot of refrigerant, guys. And listen, man, they really have to power them things up and get that crankcase heater going and get that compressor warm before they starting that thing up. Now, it's not gonna like make the compressor not run at all. It's gonna make it not run properly if we start that thing up full of liquid refrigerant.
Right.
And then now comes into play trying to diagnose the unit. I just can't stress that enough about, powering these things up and following our compressor warm-up rule. We got the stickers put on right on the units. The other thing I want to say is also I get the phone calls where, even on GMV, I'll be like, okay, they told me of the air code or whatever. I'm like, okay, they're no longer on the job. I'm like, what state is that unit in when you left? And they're like, well, we pulled the disconnect. I'm like, okay, you need to go back to that job and plug it back up and let it air out and keep the crankcase heater energized until we can get on the phone and troubleshoot the unit, or I'm giving them information to, here's the things that go back and check. But what I'm telling them is don't do anything. Go out there. You got to have that thing air out and just leave it sit with the crankcase heaters energized. If you leave that thing, off overnight with no power, and you come back the next morning, you're trying to start up that compressor, whether you're trying to take amp draws the compressor or whatever, that thing's going to be full of liquid refrigerant. I guarantee you it's not going to start. If you're going out there with a replacement board, I've had that. They put a new board in it. They can't get it to start. I'm like, you know what? You need to leave that thing sit, and then let's go back in about 6 hours and try again. And then I get them back on the phone 6 hours later, and guess what? It fired right up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to give you guys true testimonial to it,
Yeah. I had one in a lab that I didn't warm up, and it was remarkably louder than normal.
Yep.
Like right out of the gate. I ran that through the cooling cycle a couple times because I was running heat, but I ran, forced cooling a couple times, let it run for a little while or whatever. Noise starts to dissipate because I'm starting to get oil back to the compressor. Even if it's hot outside, it doesn't mean that you don't have liquid refrigerant present in your unit. Just like even if it's hot in your van, you still have liquid refrigerant present in your refrigerant cylinder.
Yep.
It's got nowhere to go. So yeah, that's definitely something that I would be taking a look at. I actually know, Daniel and I know of a very funny case in that where they kept saying that their FLEXX that they started up was loud, and I was like, okay, how cold was it when you started it? And it was like 0 degrees and stuff, and it's like, nope, it wasn't me, I didn't do that, it wasn't me that caused this problem, but anyway, eventually it worked itself out. But we do have one more comment to go over on a video. It's hands-on Gree FLEXX installation and troubleshooting. Darcy McGregor 9414 said, at 33 minutes in, you start talking about defrost problems, and you say to remove the grid at the back of the unit so ice doesn't build up. This is the exact problem we are having. My question is, what do you do then with the defrost sensor that is attached to the grid?
It's a great question.
That is a great question.
So you could just leave it dangling right there at the back of the unit. It's not
And
gonna hurt anything.
just to clarify before we get into that, Greg, it's not a defrost sensor. That is an ambient temperature sensor.
Right.
So, like you said, you could just leave it dangling.
Right.
As long as it's sensing outdoor air temperature, that's what it's intended to do. But I believe you were going somewhere with that.
No, and you're right. Thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't think about that. But so you leave it dangling off the back. The other idea that I thought, you can buy those zip ties with a little screw hole in it. You can just wrap a zip tie around it, and then take one of the screws out that's on that back panel, and just take that screw out, run the screw through that zip tie, and screw it right there by the back panel, because it's right there next to it, and
Yeah.
that would hold the sensor as well. So, but you're absolutely right. It's just an ambient sensor. It's not reading the ambient air.
Right. I just
Yeah,
want
that's
to point
why-
out too, this is not something that you have to do every time. There's only been a couple of instances. I mean, only a handful of instances where we actually had ice build up from the environment itself and not there being a defrost issue, like low
Right.
charge, for example.
And it's in
in the
really
unit
cold
itself.
locations is
Yeah.
when this happens.
I mean,
Right.
we've seen, freezing fog off of rivers, like up in the Dakotas. We've
Lake
seen applications
effect
like that.
and-
It's like, okay, it needs all the help it can get.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get to the job site in cases like that, but hey, I live in Texas.
I don't
so-
envy them trying to get there and work on it.
No.
But it's a good time to also bring up the fact that, especially in those kind of cold climates, when you're seeing that ice build up and everything, the thing that I also want to make sure we're pointing out is the fact that those units are elevated off the ground. They should not be sitting directly on a concrete pad. You do that, when it goes into defrost, all that water's going to build up. You're going to get ice damming, and you can damage the condenser coil.
Right.
So they have stands made for these units that you can put them up on a stand. You can put them on a wall mount bracket. You can use the rubber feet to just get it a couple inches off the ground, 3-4 inches. That's all you need. You got to give it a place for that water to shed away from that unit.
Mhm.
And then the other thing James has brought up multiple times is, and I think you have too, Daniel, the plugs that come with the unit. Do not put them in there. Them plastic little plugs.
Right. Yeah. Throw them away.
Throw them away, because they'll help restrict and keep the water inside the unit, and we don't want to do that.
Right. Well, the good news is that you do have water, because you do have a pan heater in it, and it's not something that the manufacturer's requiring you to go figure out how to take care of it.
Or an accessory that you had to purchase to install.
A lot of commercial specs that we get are still calling for that, and of course, our units include this from the factory. So, definitely a benefit of using Gree, but well, you would think that would just be best practice, and you don't have to tell everybody that you need to get heat pumps off the ground and all that. But many of our manuals will show exactly that. There's a snow line, a lot of people are familiar with, in the areas in which they have snow. And they gotta keep that in mind when they're setting those units up.
I think that's a good point. I'm glad that Daniel and Greg had brought up that is an ambient temperature sensor. So it's not, sure, it does sample air whenever it goes into defrost, but that's not necessarily the end, sampling sensor that it's taking. It's actually taken off the coil. So it's not going to hurt anything to put it on the cabinet. It's pretty much sampling the outdoor air.
Right. And if the fan's on, you're sampling outdoor air, whether you want it to or not.
Right.
Yeah, you got a lot of airflow across the back of that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's still got a minute on this. Okay.
So Daniel, you want to talk about the importance of not putting it underneath a roof edge and where there's no gutter?
Oh yeah, I got a great picture. I wish I had it here to share. That the unit was actually right underneath the eave where the water could hit the top of the unit, and that thing was just a complete block of ice. So if you don't have gutters installed, you could now install gutters, or you could move the unit a little bit to where it's not directly in the line of that watershed off of the roof.
Right.
But we do have our first Gree ice sculpture.
True. It's kind of like that one that we had at the AHR show for the party that we had.
Right. So now we know where we can get the ice for it next time.
Exactly. All right.
All right. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, let's take a look at questions if we had any come in since then.
Looks like, let me refresh real quick. No further questions, James.
No, okay. So the defense rests.
Yes.
defense rest.
Well, none of us have heard that in person before. Anyway. So what do we got for next month here? Well, so Wednesday, March 11th, we have Master Zone Deep Dive, Unlocking Multi-Zone Performance. Also, be sure to register for our upcoming Tech 90 on our website at greecomfort.com/Gree-training. And then on Tuesday, February 24th, we have Board Replacement Done Right, Gree Mini Splits and FLEXX R32, where we cover the correct procedures, recommended tools, and the key differences between cooling loop and heat sink setups. Don't forget, the Contractor Pro service app is available for you from your smartphone at greepros.com. And I believe that's it, unless anybody else has anything to add. All right. Well, remember, at Gree,
we're by your side.
Please like or subscribe to our channel at Gree Comfort on YouTube and head over to greecomfort.com/training for more tips and tricks and all the information you need to help you out in the field. And that was a good show.